Alright, everyone, thanks for waiting. Here's Stoich with some Project Diva Future Tone.
Hello. It's me, Fable, and Stoic. We're going to be playing Project Diva Future Town. Stoic over here.
Yeah.
Stoic over here is going to be the one playing.
Yeah, I'm Stoic. This is Future Tone. Yeah, I'm Stoic. This is Future Tone. Quick little thing. These games. This is a series. This is just one title in that series. This is a series. This is just one title in that series. 2009. They started on PSP all the way back in 2009. The version was released, and then the next year, 2013 version was released, and then 2013. That was when they updated to Future Tone Arcade, and that version is what this port is based on. And this port was released in 2016 in Japan, later released in the West the next year. That's what version I'm playing right now. As you can see, it's in English.
So right now we're in the main menu. There's a couple of options. That's the rhythm game menu, and then there's the customization menu right below. That one would be where you can change some of the outfits. You'll see later that when you're playing, you can change the Vocaloid that's playing, that's singing, and some songs even have different voices for them. And then below that is the custom playlist. You can also watch just them singing and dancing, and some of the PVs are really nice to look at. Then below that is the gallery, which has the leaderboards and keeps track of your records and stuff. Also look at the tutorial later. Alright, and then there's just options in Play Store. So let's just why don't you go on to the first song. We have a couple of songs that we wanted to play today, as well as a couple we might want to get to. And then of course we also have songs that people can request through donations. You can also request modifiers, challenge modifiers, to have Stoic here play them with those things. They add a little bit of difficulty, but it's not anything he can't handle, right? Alright. The first one up is Glory Music. I know it says 3 and 9, and that's kind of like a little pun that it's got going. I actually didn't know it was pronounced music until I want to say yesterday. But why don't you get started with that one?
To be fair, I also didn't realize how to properly pronounce the name until
that
way later.
They make a lot of
in the
puns
game's
for the song names. They like to use 39 a lot because that's the Miku's number. This is the gameplay so far. This was, as we mentioned earlier, it's a port of the arcade version of the game, which is different than most of the home console games. The way the arcade layout is set in the cabinet, it has 4 buttons. And it's from left to right: triangle, square, X, and circle. And then at the top is the touch bar, and that has the sliders, which is what you're seeing right now. That's there's chain sliders, there's single and double sliders as well. And then of course the notes can be multi-notes. It can be doubles, triples, and quads. So I don't know if you can see Stoic occasionally hitting the left side of his controller. Since the arcade has bigger buttons, it makes sense to hit some spams and some multi-notes with both your hands, but it's kind of awkward if you're just using the base buttons. So On PS4 version, you can use the D-pad as well as assign macros to the shoulder buttons of the controller. And you get a game that, like, people can find different ways to hit certain parts of the song. Like this part right here, you would have to use the D-pad. Because in the arcade, you can hit them with like just the big buttons. You can either do it with one hand if you're fast enough, or alternate, but it's easier with bigger buttons. And then of course there's the hold notes, which in most games the hold notes have like a set start and set end. In this game though, it's until you hit the same note again, which actually makes it how do I say? There's a thing we're gonna go over later that makes hold notes kind of more complicated than what most people say they would have to be. In particular, this is one of the more challenging games in the series. You mentioned there was a couple of other games, but this one has the most challenging gameplay. It also has like the most number of like official songs. Most games have a list of like 50 at most. This one goes up to like 250, and it's got several like difficulties. It's got easy, normal, hard, extreme, and extra extreme, which is we'll explain that a bit later. Did I get enough warm up, Stoich? New score.
I think so. Oh yeah. One thing I'd like to point out is the percentage in this game is completely dependent on the song, with the amount of notes and the amount of multi-notes that are present. So almost always every song will have a different percent. There's some exceptions, but overall percent is a different
the average of the percent would be like 103 and 106. It's kind of weird because a lot of other rhythm games usually have it at 100%, or they have like 100 plus like the combo, like the max combo number. So it's kind of awkward to like explain that 100% isn't actually like 100%. But yeah, the next song I believe we wanted to do was Ghost Rule. This is actually one of the newer ones that came out, at least in the compared to some of the other songs. And this is before some of the extra DLC that came out even more recently. It's also a really popular song in for Vocaloids. It's in a couple other games like in Taiko. One thing to mention though, especially since this song has a lot of holds, is one of the like strats for like higher like scores would be occasionally some songs will have what's called like hold switches. And hold switches, you're essentially just letting go of the hold for another one instead of just grabbing them all in order. Sometimes you can tell when it's a hold switch and sometimes you can't. So it's better to just have like someone tell you, or like someone show you like where to find them. And in general, you're gonna notice that on faster and more difficult songs, you're gonna see Stoich use macros more. You're gonna see him use like his left hand more. In the first song, you saw him use just like his like right hand maybe. And I mean, of course, you can also just like if you have faster hands, you can just single tap it, but you also don't want to give yourself arthritis. All right, there you'll see some hold switches. This song in particular, I actually have some trouble with it occasionally, especially in the ending. I think it's a good song. The PV looks really nice. I personally just kind of wish there was a bit more than just like some, like a lot of stages are just an actual stage. I prefer PVs like the Winning Glory music where there's like a story. And some of them even have 2D PDs, which usually it's just like the music, like how they came out, like the actual like music PD, instead of one made for the game. A lot of the songs in this game in general are either popular Vocaloid songs or just some like songs people were able to get in through like contests. At least when it was new in the arcade. This song in particular came out with one other song, Sand Planet, which they were like the two like popular songs at the time. And I mean, I think I personally like Sand Planet a bit more, but this one's also really nice. Right now it's gonna get a bit tough for Stoich. Let's see if he doesn't make any mistakes. One of the main difficult parts of this game... Oh, he made a mistake. One of the difficult parts of this game in particular is the multi-notes. Like I mentioned in the other games, they just have like double notes that have it's just you're pressing the same button on both sides. This one, it's kind of tricky to like know which multi-note to hit. Generally, I like to recommend people to like know the arcade layout because it makes a lot more like intuitive sense with the arcade, but you can also just have fun playing with the PS4 controller. 103%. How you feeling about this one, Stoich?
It was unfortunate. I just that's the hardest part in the song, I would say.
There.
The multi-notes usually are what hold a lot of people back, because most of the time, like, if you notice, my play style really depends on hitting the shoulder and bumpers on the controller. A lot of people don't play like that, and you can do all sorts of things with these macros up top. And one song in particular, this is the one song that showcases just how versatile using macros can be. And as you can see here, this is just what I normally play for every song, but some songs are just too difficult to use the standard set, so
yeah, most people like to use two quads for just like the transfer holds. This dude likes playing with one quad, which is actually more versatile, but it's kind of not standard.
More difficult for beginners.
Alright.
What makes this song even more unique is we're actually swapping triangle for different combinations on the up and triangle button. So this is very advanced, but it's very worth it in the end if you pull it off, because this song is one of the big three, and the big three are the three hardest songs in the game. This one is the easiest of the three, but it's still very difficult for a lot of players.
Yeah, this one's really crazy, especially at the end. I remember when this used to be when it actually was the hardest song in the game, at least for a while. You'd think the intro's kind of like a bit of a difficult start, I guess, but it just gets worse at the end. It does slow down in the middle, so most people, like, they'll probably feel like they got it in the bag once they make it like halfway through, and then they're in for a surprise at the end. In particular, this is one of my like favorite songs in the game. I don't know why I prefer like some of the faster songs. in general, it's really fun to play the faster one. You also learn a lot of like things. You should also like play the slower ones more often though. Unlike other rhythm games, this one doesn't really have too many fast things, which actually makes songs like this one that have like a couple of parts that are like a bit fast, I guess, with big quotations, is it just makes it harder to learn the fast things, especially if you're just new to rhythm games. Overall, I think this game's really like good for beginners. Some people might get stuck with the visuals because it's kind of jarring to just see notes flying all over the place. And I've seen people describe this game as like a chaotic mess, but it does make sense once you understand like the patterns. And it does get a bit confusing knowing what note to hit. In general, there's a lot of different ways players have come up with to do this ending in particular. I would say this method here is probably like the most efficient, but it's the most challenging because you have to manage the triangles. Actually,
that ending is what makes this song what it is. Very difficult on a controller. Still somewhat difficult on arcade.
Yeah.
A little surprised I didn't mess it up, to be honest.
I thought you were going to make a mistake. I didn't expect you to just get it first try. You've been practicing. Only a little.
Only a little.
Yeah, there's two other songs harder than this one. We want to go through other songs, but if people want to request those, it would be Dim Paradigm and Intense Voice Extra Extreme. Both of them are extra extremes. Those are the two hardest ones, Intense Voice being the actual hardest one. If I would personally rate them, I'd say Disappearance is like an 11, Dempa is like a 12, and Disappearance is like a 14. Not that many people have a perfect on it either, on especially on the hardest one, right? So
yeah, there's probably less than 100 unique players that have even managed to hold a full combo with the hardest song,
especially at the end. Next one we want to do is Hanamine, right? Yeah, this one's a really nice song.
I believe so.
This one in particular, I prefer the Extra Extreme chart over the Extreme chart. In general, Extra Extreme and Extreme aren't actually like super different. Most games will have like an even harder difficulty than Extreme, but Extra Extreme isn't more difficult. It's just an alternative difficulty. Earlier we mentioned how the arcade got updated. The update was actually to add in the slider notes. The very first iteration of the arcade game didn't have slider notes, it just had the 4 buttons. So you'll notice a whole bunch of, especially the older charts, won't have any slider notes at all. And in the menu, it'll even indicate if there's any slider notes. When they added the touch bar though, the newer charts had them, and they also added extra extreme charts for the old ones that don't have it. They also, we're not really sure why, but there's some charts that have slider charts on extreme, but they also gave them an extra extreme chart. Not that we're complaining, they're usually fun, but kind of, we don't really know why they did that. We would have preferred if they prioritize the ones that didn't have sliders, but one of the things with extra extreme charts is that they generally follow the beat more. Since they're newer, they I guess they like figured out how they want to like actually chart the songs in the game. They also generally just have more sliders than even the extreme charts that do have slider notes. That's like another thing. And they're also very multi-note heavy and two note spam heavy, or 3 note spam heavy. It's also part of the song in particular that has really interesting doubles. Not sure when they'll come up or if they already came up, but yeah, those doubles will be very confusing for a lot of people. And I think that's one of the bigger challenges of charts like these. That and the slowdown at the end. A lot of people make mistakes on the slow part. What do you think about this song in particular, though, Stoic?
It's a great chart. They really stepped up their game compared to the launch of arcade in terms of charting. Although some people out there might disagree with that.
Yeah,
for
some of them
specific
are
cases.
kind of wonky, but they got most of them down. Some of them just have like some weird gimmicks that people might not find fun, but it's part of every game, I guess. Let's see. I believe the next song we wanted to do was Lucid Dreaming. It's a very good song.
This is one of the earlier songs, you could say. As you can see, it didn't have sliders. But the chart itself, I would say, is good enough, even without them.
This chart doesn't have any sliders at all, but it's really difficult, especially in the middle part, if you're not really accustomed to doubles. Just because songs don't have sliders doesn't mean that they aren't good or they aren't fun. It's just that, you know, since they're the older charts, they might have like some stuff with them. But overall, I'd say all the charts are fun in their own way. In particular, I really like the PV in this song. There's a couple of PVs that are a bit, they look a bit wonky sometimes, and that's because they had like some PV contests where they wanted to add like songs. This was when the arcade version, like the updated one I think, came out. They wanted to add more songs, and so they had a contest for PVs, and they added the ones that won. And some of the charts that have like weird, a bit stiff animations or kind of different looking animations, those are the PV contest winners. But PVs like this are also like really good. Right now it's starting to get a bit more double heavy. I'd say this is probably one of, at least personally, my favorite extreme charts. I don't play it as often as I would like to, and there's one part in particular that always trips me up every time we play it. I think it gets like everyone though, because it's a really awkward. It's a really awkward part to do. This part is also really heavy with hold switches on the second half. Holds actually aren't really, you actually don't even need to hold down the button if you really don't want to. Some people opt to just not do holds, or just to not even use macros for them. They just use the face buttons. And I mean, like, the fun part about this game is there's just a bunch of different ways to enjoy it. I've seen people do no macro plays. I've seen people do the high-speed modifiers. I've seen people do single macros. I've seen people change up like all of their buttons so that it's challenging. I've seen people do blindfolded plays. People really go crazy with some of like the ways they play this game. In general, I'd say one of the harder ways to play is competitively, which is by doing stuff called score attacks. This song in particular has a score attack step, but it's well, we'll do another one. We want to show off another score attack route today, at least just to give a brief introduction to them. Ooh, 106% even.
That is the maximum percent
All cool
attainable on this particular song. Getting all cools is pretty difficult for a lot of people.
It's for everyone.
It took me years. It took me years to get to where I am now in this game. Literally spent thousands of hours playing this. I am the only player in the world who have gotten all cools on every chart on this game.
Like, no one else has done it. Not even like the best player. Well, I guess now he's not the best player since he did it. Yeah, but getting fine zero on like stuff is really hard, especially first try. I actually didn't expect you to get any fine zeros today. Yeah. The next song, did you already prepare it? Okay, yeah, the next song is Packaged.
It's Packaged.
This song is actually, like, to perfect, it's very easy. Well, you can, like, do other stuff. Like, compared to, like, some of the, like, more difficult charts, it's a very easy chart. It's very slow and nice and steady. But what we're gonna do is the score attack, which makes it one of the harder songs. At least score attack wise. So in most games, score attacks or like going for high scores is getting all pulls and not breaking combo. In this game, because of how holds work, there's things you can do like skipping notes or pressing intentional wrongs to extend holds to max them out for a higher score. And so in this song, you'll see Stoich just extend a couple of holds and get intentional wrongs. And if he does the route correctly, then he should have a much higher score than someone that would get a perfect. This score attack in particular is very difficult because once you start the third step, he can't get any fines or anything that isn't a red wrong. Can't make any mistakes until the end of the song, or he's not going to survive the song. He's going to run out of life. So let's hope he makes it to the end. Not every song has a score attack. A bunch of them do. Some of them only have hold switches. And then some of them just don't even have hold switches. It's just play the song normally. I'd say very few songs are just without hold switches or score attacks, but I really don't know the exact number. There's also one of the harder score attacks, as I mentioned. There's a couple other ones that you can't make a mistake as well, but a whole bunch of them you can make a couple of mistakes as long as you're not breaking combo where you're not supposed to. Yeah, I saw.
I got a fine. I'm gonna proceed with the route, and because I got that one fine, you will see I'm gonna die.
Yeah. So most score attack routes generally are at the beginning or end since they affect combo less. That's the main idea of them. But yeah, if he didn't get that one fine, if he was actually better, is actually better, then he would have made it to the end. He would have lived with exactly one life.
So that just shows how difficult some score attacks could be. One mistake and it's all over.
Yeah.
You have to restart.
There's a lot of other stuff in regards to score attacks, but it's just a lot, and we don't really want to go over everything. But we just want to give you guys like I guess like an introduction to what score attacks would look. I believe the next song that we wanted to do was I guess Tell Your World? Yeah, Tell Your World. It's a very nice song. Did you want to do the extra extreme or the extreme?
Oh. Yeah, we'll go ahead with the extra. This is one of the more recent editions of Extra Extreme that this game received.
Yeah, there was I think it was 2 times it happened where the game got free, I guess free DLC. It came in an update, and it would just be extra extreme charts that the arcade got, and then we got them like months later. These are some of the more recent ones, and so a lot of them are very well made, in our opinion. And this one in particular is also a really good song too. I'd say it's a really well-known song. One of the things I noticed with some of the newer charts is that they like to go kind of ham with some of the gimmicks. Like there was a point in time where a lot of charts just had a lot of parts that had quad notes. I believe Hanamai, the one that we did earlier, that one was part of that whole quad era. And I'm not sure if this one is part of that one. I think it might just be doubles heavy. There's part where charts just had a lot of the same kinds of doubles all over the place. This song also has a score attack, and it's one of the ones that has more than one route, with one route being usually the harder route is the more optimal one. And one of the annoying things I guess about score attacks is that depending on the version you're on, whether it's the arcade or PS4, they might have a different route or different steps to follow. So good to figure that out before you actually start doing it, because it's very time consuming to get the best possible score for it. I personally find this chart very fun until the end, and then this is one part at the end that kind of, if you're going for low find, it's very, very infuriating. But it has some very fun patterns, especially if you're on the arcade. The actual arcade cabinet, I feel, makes this game very fun. Very recently, more third-party companies have been making like arcade-style controllers, and those are fun, but nothing beats actually going to the arcade. Also, another thing that I'd like to point out is some songs have chance time. This song is one of those songs, and at some point you'll see a double that has like a little rainbow color around it, and that chance time, it's kind of, I want to say it's from like the console games that had chance times and everything. And essentially, if you hit the note, or if you don't, it changes the PV a little. Not 100% sure about that. I don't know if Stoic has anything to say about that.
Chance time started in the very first games, actually, but it didn't actually change what you were watching. Changing happened later, back in 2012, I believe, on one of their other games called F and F Second. So they added the actual visual changes. and those songs are featured in these games. And those changes can only be made if you were to purposely miss the note
quickly say right
that
now,
triggered it.
So sorry about this. There was an anonymous donor that donated $20.69. Thank you so much for the donation. Just wanted to point that out. I just saw it. Very generous donation. They also just made another donation as well, another anonymous person, and they put a song request. They want you to play Negaposi Continues with any challenge and modifier that you want.
Negaposi is one of the higher difficulty songs in the game. You can see here it's a 10-star. Actually haven't practiced this song, so see what happens.
Yeah, this one's definitely one of the ones I struggle with. It's not big three, but it's it has a lot of parts that are easy to mess up. Which modifier are you playing with?
We are going to go with Hidden. Hidden makes the note disappear as it gets closer to the judgment.
Is that I believe that one is the second hardest or the hardest? Which one would you say?
I would say it's the second hardest challenge modifier to play with.
It's I guess it's more like timing based, so like if you know the timing of it, it's not that bad. Sudden, you just kind of have to know the song. High speed's the easiest, I'd say, but if you play a lot of like other games that have really fast notes, or if you just play high speed enough, I figured you'd get used to the speed of the notes. Like your eyes would just adjust, and then eventually the hard part would just be stopping and playing regular DIVA, and things would feel a lot slower. Not much of a huge fan of modifiers, but a lot of people do like them. Some people would wish that there were more modifiers, or just like more like challenge items in general. I believe other games actually had more challenge items, which is kind of weird that this one didn't, but I guess they wanted to just make it only 3 just for some arbitrary reason. I'm not a huge fan of this song in particular, but I do find some parts of the chart to be very fun, especially some of the, we'll call them ladders. People call them different names, like some sections of these songs. I think those are fun once you learn them, but you know, there's a huge quotation mark with once you learn them. I'd say the most infuriating part of this song is the 360. It's funny we call them 360s, even though on the arcade you don't really do a 360 motion. It's only a 360 on a DS4 controller. As a quick side note, in this song, there's actually a score text that missing any notes. It involves hitting a specific hold note with specific judgments. You would hit it in what's called a fine, or if you're on the PS4 version, a cruel fine. And that would be to max it out. And it's those steps are generally very hard, especially if they're as a sad save, or if the timing is just time window is just too small. Those sorts of things are very difficult. Not mandatory, but I mean it's a really neat challenge. The ending in this song is also pretty rough. Very doubles heavy with to just knowing what buttons to hit. Once you learn how to do double notes and triple notes, then a huge chunk of the game is just available to you. How do you feel about this one, Stoich?
We messed up that one part. That one part, I would say, is the hardest part of the song. And if you notice too, my accuracy across all the other songs was fairly low. This one, 34 goods, or I call them fines because good was here.
Yeah,
I still call them fines. But playing with challenge modifiers drastically lowers my accuracy. And a thing to note as well, playing with challenge modifiers does not save your score. It only saves the clear mark of passing with that modifier.
I don't really understand. Some people do find it annoying. It's not really use the modifiers, it doesn't really bother me too much, but I do find it kind of weird that it doesn't save score, at least your percent. You know, it's not anything. I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker. Most that you would have already gotten the perfect before you did the challenge modifier. You're doing Yevon Polka next, right? Which are
Yes. This song is a classic
to
the series. It's appeared in the first game and has been used as a tutorial ever since. So, we feel it would be wrong to not play this song.
Probably like a Vocaloid classic. Start up the game for the first time and just have the song playing as the tutorial. Has a really nice steady beat as well, and I believe they actually used the original PV as well. I'm not super sure, but if they didn't, they did a pretty good job at it. One of the things that I've noticed especially for this game is that it's a very good like song to get a good idea of how all the other charts in that difficulty are going to be. Like when you're playing it on extreme, it has some doubles, it has some spams, it has a very good mix of stuff that you're getting. Same thing is true with extra extreme. Extra extreme has a lot of slider notes, has a bunch of doubles, has some different types of spams like double note spams and left hand switch spams. And then they also add a bunch of like 270s and 360s. 270s would be what some people would call the 3-note. Like it'd be almost a 360, but with one note missing. Usually they only start with triangle or with circle. They don't really start with square most of the time. I think in some of them they do. Yes. And this one also has very I like the pattern. It's where you're changing your left hand what note you hit, but your right hand stays when it's a different note on every other note. Overall, I don't think anyone really hates the song or hates the chart. I think it's a very neat classic. What do you think about this one? Yeah, 5-5.
Yeah, I kind of fell apart there at the end with my accuracy. Those multi-notes,
Yeah,
they kind of get you
Yeah, they hit hard.
sometimes.
In general, getting accuracy, good accuracy with multi-notes is like something that a lot of people struggle with. In particular, I think a lot of people tend to struggle with songs that have like entire sections that are just double notes. I remember I struggled a lot learning those. Which one did you want?
Yes, dramaturgy is one of 4 of the last added songs to this game. It is console exclusive. But overall, I think it's generally agreed that this is the best song, best chart, and it's also the most notes out of any other.
There's actually only 3 songs in the game that even go up to 1,000. This one in particular goes up to, I want to say 1,085 or 1,087. There's one that goes up to 1,000 exactly, which used to be the highest note count song, and then it was beaten by one that came out late 2017. The one that is 1,000 notes, I believe, is called Any Catwalk, and 2017 is Unhappy Refrain Extra Stream. Yeah, I think this one's actually 1,085. We'll find out at the end. Yeah, this one wins by a landslide, and it's considered by a lot of people to be, and a lot of people really like the song as well. It's a very good song. It's my personal favorite, and I believe this is a very good example of how good difficulty is done. Because there's a lot of songs that are difficult only in some sections. This one is very consistent. It's the same kind of difficulty, and it rewards actually knowing like the song. Because there's some songs where you can know how to do it, but pulling it off is it's a 50-50 sometimes. There's also some songs that are very, they take a while to play, like the very long songs. And it feels like you're waiting for the ending to come, or sometimes feels like it overstays your welcome. This one, you don't feel the time passing by. I actually forget how long this song is sometimes. Yeah, there's a lot of very fun patterns. Doing spams. I think one of the most fun things to do in this game is to do the note spams. And the PV is pretty good too. This is actually a song that I'm actually kind of glad that they didn't do a 3D PV, personally. Of course, 3D PVs are always welcome, but I mean, I prefer this over something like a stage PV. It's also that like little guy just playing the drum for like a half second, which is my personal favorite part of the PV. On the note of PV, one of the funny things about playing this game is that details that are in the PV if you're just playing. So watching the PVs is actually pretty neat because you'll see a lot of stuff you'll miss out on. And some songs even have different PVs depending on the difficulty that you pick them on. Not all of them have it, only a few of them do. And some of them even have like different cover art. People tend to miss out on a lot. Another thing that that's like really like interesting about this chart is just the ending. Like, I personally just really think the ending is great. I find it very interesting how it dials it up, but it doesn't go anything like super crazy. Some charts they just really get into the ending, like they all or nothing, like Disappearance, or even Intense Voice. They all or nothing the ending, and then it just slows down. And timing the ending is like really difficult sometimes. A lot of people will spend the whole song playing it, and then they'll make one mistake at the end, and it's kind of heartbreaking.
New record. Looks like you were off with your guess of
63,
how many notes the
65?
song had.
At least I knew it ended with the 5. Yeah. My bad, it's 1065. It's still the highest note count though. Alrighty. What other song did you want to do? Did you want to... think we have time for like one more song maybe?
Yes, I think we're just gonna go with the hardest song in the game. Kinda feels wrong to not to show it off.
Or at least hopefully end it off with the bang.
Unfortunately, I may have done well on this song before, but I'm still prone to messing up. So there is a chance I could run out of life and die.
You gave your best shot.
As you saw too, I used... That's just through my commentator here to be able to see what I'm doing in real time.
No mod? No, I'm just kidding.
Let's see how this goes.
They're gonna laugh at you if you make a mistake or if you drop out. I personally will laugh at you if you make a mistake at the end like you did before. One thing I like to mention about this song in particular is that like all the other songs will teach you about the game, like the more you play them. You'll pick up like the patterns that are commonly used, and you'll be able to do better on like the more difficult songs. And it's like 10 stars are like the final like quiz, right? Like of like studying all these other charts. If this is like the final pop quiz, the way I like to describe it, it's like a quiz with stuff you just didn't study because it wasn't in the book. It has a lot of parts that aren't really seen in other charts. It has very confusing parts that you have to like just know or just be really good at sight reading. It has some awkward holds. It has really fast spams with chain sliders like in the middle and like regular sliders. It's got everything in it. It's got the hardest ending. I like to say that whenever someone wants to start perfecting this song, I always like to tell them good luck with the year-long training arc. That's because it took me like a year to like do this song. Passing the song is like by itself like an accomplishment. It's just one whole minute of just non-stop challenges. Yeah, like a couple of seconds to like kind of compose yourself until the end. This is also one of my favorite songs in general, which kind of sucked because I felt obligated to learn it. At least you didn't drop out.
Unfortunate.
And you even got 100% too.
that last part where I did drop the combos.
Yeah, it's a very
Pretty difficult.
part. It's the hardest part to learn. There's just nothing else to help you learn it. It's very rewarding to learn how to play. Any final comments? I believe we might be running out of time. Stoic?
One thing to note too about this song is, and other songs, most of the time you can cheese it, kind of pass by pressing wrong buttons to stay alive, but this song, there's no mercy.
Yeah, this is definitely, you know it or you don't. All right, any closing comments or anything about this game? Anything you want to say?
That's pretty much everything we wanted to go over. Hope it was informative if you haven't heard of this game before or aren't familiar with it. And there's way more that goes. Yeah, there's way more to go over in this game if you wanted to know more.
It's a lot of time you can put into this if you just have the time for it. Yeah, this is our favorite game. We're very excited and very happy to show it off. All right.
Thank you, Stoich and Fable, for showing off Project DIVA Future Tone. Thanks for watching Link Up 2, and Link Up 2 is supporting direct relief COVID-19 outbreak response here in the United States and across the world. Emergency aid, funding, PPE, and vaccines are urgently needed. Your collective donations help with direct relief's mission in providing distribution and financial assistance across 105 countries. You can go to linkup2.stormworksleague.com to donate. That's linkup2.stormworksleague.com to donate. We have a lot of raffle prizes for you to donate for and try to win. We've got Steam keys for DJ Max V and Noise. We have a handmade acrylic stand based on the Pump It Up CX cabinet by Harakaze. We have a physical CD copy of Lunatic Sound's first album, The Legend, which was kindly donated by. And we have a full pop set for 2DX Heroic. You can go to, once again, linkup2.stormworksleague.com to see all the incentives. Up next, we've got Chris from the Bike Gaming playing apparently punch out on a pump pad.